Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me for your weekly collective reading for the week of March 9th to March 15th, 2020. I was kind of meditating on the energies for the week, and so I was being shown a scene of like, I don't know if you've seen that movie Ice Age, I think it is, where it's like the squirrel, I think it is, and he's chasing this nut. And I mean, it's like, this whole thing where he's going through this whole entire process to get the nut, and he ends up getting hurt a bunch of times. And so I think the main message that was coming through with that, it was just an interesting thing to be shown, is there's this feeling of kind of letting yourself off the hook for chasing things that aren't in your best interest. You know what I mean? So like, just because you really, really want something, you got to ask yourself, is it worth putting yourself through the trials and tribulations that often cause more harm than what it is you're seeking? And then oftentimes when you get what it is you thought you wanted, it turns out to not be what you thought it was. The only other thing that came through was I just kept seeing ice. There's a lot of ice, a lot of like frozen feelings. And so to me, that kind of represented being frozen in time, feeling stuck in this sense of not knowing whether you should go after this particular thing or not, whatever it is for you. But that said, we're just going to go ahead and get into the reading. I'm using the Mystical Cat Tarot and the Book of Thoth Tarot today. I wanted to change it up a bit. We will be using the animal messages for our closing message for today. Keep in mind that time and energy are fluid. If something doesn't fit, do not force it. It can apply for you at a later date. I'm going to take a deep breath to connect deeper with my higher self and with spirit, and I do implore you to do the same. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. We're going to start with the Mystical Cat Tarot. I am freestyling today, and so whatever comes through, comes through. Use your intuition to interpret the visual representations on the card, my own interpretations. One last shuffle. But you'll know if a message is right for you. You'll feel it. So let's see what Spirit has for us this week. Call it to Spirit to please help myself and the collective hear, see, and know anything we need to hear, see, and know for the week of March 9th to March 15th, 2020. So we have 3 of Wands reverse, we have the Tower reverse, the Empress reverse, and the 2 of Cups. Okay. And at the bottom of the deck we have the Queen of Wands. Straighten these out a bit. So initially what I'm being drawn to, I'm seeing this in like sets. And so I'm seeing the 3 of Wands and the Tower reverse. And to me this essentially represents, like, when I see the Tower reverse, it's more of a lesser form of the Tower and the upright, obviously. It's like things that happen aren't nearly as intense, but there's like shifts that are going on. Either that, or there is a resistance to the things being taken out of your life. And given we do have the Empress and the 2 of Cups, what this is telling me is that you may be feeling like you're in a place where, like if we're going back to the ice symbolism, it's like you're not flowing because the water's in a state of solidity. And the cards are really coming to you today to let you know that it's time to kind of embrace your more feminine aspects, embrace the flowy nature of emotions, and try not to force your will so much on how things are happening. And so it's as if you're trying to be this Queen of Wands is what I'm hearing. It's like you're trying to take on this role of like being independent, doing everything yourself, not asking anybody for help. Especially in terms of career, this kind of goes, it can go in, either way, love or career. I think I'm going to start taking it both ways when I do these collective readings. I feel like it covers more ground than just, like, let's say, like a love aspect comes out. I do like to provide insight into multiple areas of the readings, since the cards can tell so many different stories. So, being this Queen of Wands, if we're looking at this in terms of career, if you're feeling like you're at a standstill, this is kind of almost like a continuation of the reading that was coming out last week, the whole standstill energy. And so it's this idea of not fighting the standstill and realizing that, like, connecting to your higher self and connecting to spirit is essentially what allows you to remain in that flow. But sometimes that flow doesn't always look like it feels, if that makes sense. If you're looking things at the external, in the external appearance, it doesn't necessarily look the way you may be feeling about progressing in a certain area in your life. And I think a big reason of that is a reason that is occurring for you right now is because I don't know, I'm just hearing like you need to kind of learn to accept help, especially in the context of career. And if we're going into a kind of like love aspect, I'm not really getting any kind of love type of energy. I mean, the Two of Cups, that can represent love or a relationship, but right, this really feels like internal balance, inner union more than anything, masculine and feminine balance within yourself. Given we do have two cats drinking from a fountain, you have the lion. The lion in the center of this fountain essentially represents your higher essence, your higher self, and the fountain of truth, the fountain of youth, whatever you want to call it. Drinking from the fountain of truth, like where those two energies coalesce, the balance of the feminine and the masculine energies, right? So let's clarify a bit. I want to just clarify these and see if we can get any clarification here. Okay, Spirit says one more shovel, so I will do that. Okay, I'm just going to do my usual. I'm going to clarify all of these for now. That's interesting. We have the Three of Wands in the upright over the Three of Wands reverse. We have the Magician reversed over the Tower reverse. We have the Ace of Wands over the Empress reverse. And then the Five of Swords over the Two of Cups. And on two sides here, we have the Four of Cups reverse. And the Two of Cups reverse. This is really interesting. We're getting a lot of, not a lot, it's just two different cards. I mean, we got an upright and a reverse for the Three of Wands and the Two of Cups. But what I'm being drawn to immediately is the Empress with the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands reverse can often represent, false starts. It can represent, I guess, failed beginnings, which would also be false starts. But if this is in the context of career, is mostly what's coming through, within just like a passion, within your passion project, or within, you pursuing your dreams, which is a lifelong, endeavor a lot of the times. I think we need to understand that a lot of what we're trying to do takes time, and we can't expect it to just fall into place in the way we want it to. Sometimes we kind of have to learn to accept the fact that things are going at their own pace, and while we do have free will and we can influence our reality in certain aspects, I do think there is a balance between free will, destiny, and fate. I feel like it can really be so intertwined to the point where there's so many different possibilities that we just can't conceive of all of the ways that it can work out in our life, no matter what it is we're doing. And so the fact that we have the Four of Cups reverse with the Magician reverse. The Magician reverse, to me, indicates this false start not coming together. It kind of indicates you may be feeling as if it's almost as if you feel like you're working against yourself by not doing what you think it is you need to be doing. Because you're not, the Four of Cups reverse, you're not taking that time to really understand why you're feeling what you're feeling when it comes to your passion project or when it comes to your career. There is a sense of needing to renew that sense of playfulness. What I'm seeing here with this Three of Wands, it's like you need to renew just the approach to your dreams, the approach to, if it is in the context of love, really approaching it from a playful perspective and just not holding on so tightly to how you think things should be coming together, accepting them for the way they are coming together. But the fact that we do have the Five of Swords here in the reverse, it's like as if you're coming out of this. So you may whenever this does apply, like let's say like you're just coming out of this energy, given this does seem to be a continuation of last week's reading. So you may be coming out of the stage of, just letting the truck pass by, excuse me. You may be feeling like you're in the stage of, like you went into solitude, you kind of sat with some of the emotions and you're like, oh, well now what? There's this energy of like, well now where do I go? Like I did the work and I sat with some of the emotions. And a big indication of those breaks, oftentimes we feel like we always need to be doing inner work or outer work, but we forget that we need to integrate a lot of what's happened. Because while we can process it in our minds and our emotions and it seems to be dealt and over with, our bodies need time to catch up with that. And these cards and the energies for this week are essentially just letting you know that there needs to be a integration period. Before, like it's a combination of the incubation period that we've been going through, definitely during this Mercury retrograde. Keep in mind, Mercury goes direct on the 9th or 10th, whichever it is. I believe some say the 9th. I've seen some say the 10th. I looked it up, and I saw it was on the 10th, but I really just think it depends. Doesn't matter, essentially, because you still have that shadow period, right? And so the shadow period leading up into the 17th, I mean, this reading is going to apply all throughout the shadow period. The 17th is when it's going to end. It's going to be next week, or actually over the weekend, so it will be, no, next week on Tuesday, I think it is, or my Tuesday. But it's, the shadow period to me represents this time of kind of reviewing everything you learned during the retrograde period, everything that came up for you. Taking that time to integrate all of the recurring lessons and emotions that were being processed through this retrograde period. So, okay, Spirit is telling me I'm going to get you a little bit of advice. Whatever wants to come through with the Golden Dawn Tarot. I'm going to do my usual seam pulls. It's interesting because given we are in this kind of retrograde and integration period, and these readings, as I've said, have been very succinct and very straight to the point. And even if I do want to delve into specific areas of the reading, Spirit is just kind of telling me to leave it as it is and just let the message be the message instead of trying to get too much insight. So, I mean, aside from the last pull, I think we're going to close it up soon because, I mean, the message, just like last week, is so straightforward. It's take the time to integrate, take the time to process, whatever that means to you at your own pace. So, I'm going to do one more shuffle here. Take this Temperance, yeah, I mean it's a perfect energy. And then we got Strength at the bottom of the deck. The Strength at the bottom of the deck, to me, in the context of this reading, represents kind of taming your inner beast, if that makes sense. We have the Lion here, which is also representative on this Two of Cups over here. It was under this Five of Swords. Again, like trusting your intuition, not letting yourself get too carried away in the absence of perceived non-movement. Not sure if I said that correctly. I think perceived non-movement, but not the absence of it. So the absence of perceived movement. There we go. So if you're not seeing things move the way you think they should, don't let that discourage you from your path, or don't let that discourage you from where you think you need to be, but take this time to embody the Temperance, right? And this Temperance card here, we have 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on land. These are both, feminine energies. Water and earth are known as feminine energies in the tarot. And so it's essentially coming to this, oh, wait a minute. Sorry to cut myself off, but we got a yellow square. And if you recall 2 readings ago, it was the last reading I did for February going into March, we got a yellow triangle. And I just think that's very interesting because we have the yellow square, we do have the yellow sun on top, but to me this also represents higher understanding, right? Oftentimes when you see certain depictions of the Buddha or any bodhisattva for that matter, like Kuan Yin, or I don't know very many of them, but there's often representations of a halo type of energy on top of these characters' heads, and that often represents the deeper understandings of the universe, the higher understandings of the way things are working in your life. And I think a good way to do this and to help yourself come to a deeper understanding and acceptance of the way things are moving, Spirit's kind of guiding me to share with you a technique that I use sometimes when I feel myself getting too worked up in the mundane, everyday interworkings of situations, or I get to the state of overthinking, right? And so it's essentially this meditation technique I like to use. I guess I'll call it the bird's eye view meditation. It's not really, I've never really named it before. The same process, you sit down, you ground yourself, go into some deep breathing, do like 3 deep breaths. And essentially, using your third eye, you imagine yourself floating above your experience. So it's a type of transcendental meditation. And by doing this, you imagine however it works out for you. This is how it works out for me, but I will essentially see my life as a bird, but like all of my experiences, right? And like past and future. And so it's like I will kind of like take this like as if my experience is 2D on a 2D map, and I'm taking like that bird's eye view. Like if you're playing like a video game and you're basically, looking at all the different places you can go, you're looking at all the different quests, it's the same concept where I'll kind of get that bird's eye view and I'll be able to see all of the different, interwoven paths and the strings. And so by doing that, it essentially removes a lot of the worry, because it's a reassurance that things are moving in the way they should. And should you not be happy with where you're moving, you have the opportunity to choose a new path. And I think that is a big reason we have these intermediary periods between, tower events like the tower reverse, small little events that shake us up, shake our foundation. They cause us to sit down and really evaluate where it is we want to go from that point forward. Keeping in mind, time is fluid. You may be revisiting lessons, you may be revisiting similar situations, because you're being presented with the opportunity from the universe to make a different choice. Because if you're seeing a lot of the same things happen and a lot of the same things are coming through for you, this is the time to take this 4 of Cups, turn it in the upright, have that emotional checklist card, take the time to sift through the emotions as they relate to your experiences and how you want to go from there. Quite honestly. So we'll pull a few more up here in the seams. The Queen of Pentacles. I came out for some of the love readings. 10 of Pentacles or 10 of Wands reverse. Nope. Cups. 10 of Cups reverse. And we have 4 of Wands reverse, right? So the fact that we have the 4 of Wands reverse, that often represents delays. Given this is a general reading, this can be representative of, if it's in terms of a relationship, this is the indication that yes, there are delays, but for good reason, right? 10 of what? I don't know why every time I see this 10 of Cups, I call it either Pentacles or Wands. They're clearly Cups. They look like Cups to me. 10 of Cups, reverse, to me indicates coming to this place of recognizing what it is you do and don't want out of life. That's the reason there's a stencil. That's the reason there's a 4 of Wands reverse, because it's asking you to take this Queen of Pentacles stance. The Queen of Pentacles representing somebody who has learned to gain control over their emotions, not in the sense that they can not feel what they want to feel or not feel what they don't want to feel, but not letting what they're feeling control them, right? And so you're being presented with an opportunity to really just reevaluate where you want to go. And this is really just what keeps coming through. I feel like I just keep repeating myself because it's just such an apparent message right now in this reading. Where do you want to go from here? Whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in a career, passion project, or just even with your own internal spiritual practice. Where do you want to go? Like, be more specific with the universe. If you're trying to manifest a particular, lifestyle, start getting specific with the steps you want to take to get there. Take advantage of this time. Take advantage of a time where the emotions may not be as tumultuous as they were, to not only process and integrate, but get some insight into how you want to move forward. Again, Let's see here. We're gonna go ahead. Alright, Spirit really wants me to pull in the seams. I was about to close the reading, but Spirit's telling me pull for these two seams. We have Strength reverse, and we have the Knight of Pentacles reverse. So, Knight of Pentacles reverse in the context of these three cards clarifying the entire situation, right? Is telling me that now is not a good time to move forward if you don't know what you want. If you're moving forward for the sake of moving forward, that's going to lead you to these same pitfalls and disappointments that you have been trying to move past. Like all of the pitfalls and disappointments that this Mercury retrograde has bringing up has been for the particular reason to get you to not repeat the same mistakes. To just end that cycle of self-sabotage, which oftentimes is done out of trying to protect ourselves or trying to stay comfortable. Because moving forward in the unknown can be scary to somebody who has stayed in the same place for so long, has repeated the same, I guess, situations. I mean, if we're looking at this in terms of career or passion projects, maybe now is a good time to reevaluate your game plan, right? Like if you have a business plan, if you're somebody who likes to write business plans or you have like a 5-year plan, you know, take a look at your 5-year plan. Like where do you need to make changes? How do you have to modernize your 5-year plan opposed to when you made it 5 years ago, right? If this is in terms of love and relationships, are you kind of like holding yourself back because you're waiting for somebody to come along in order for you to build your life the way you want to build it? Or are you somebody who's going to build your life for yourself, you know, for future generations? If you're somebody who is resonates with building generational wealth, so that way your family doesn't have to experience a lot of the hardships you did growing up. Or are you just gonna put that on hold because you're waiting for somebody to fall in line, or you're waiting for this relationship to come through? It's like, nah, it's like these cards in the universe are really coming through to tell you that that is the old way of doing things for you. And if you do want to continue down that path, you're just gonna hold yourself back. Like you could be so much further along a year from now if you really put in the effort and you really put in the time. But it's going to take you being real with yourself, and it is going to take you coming to terms with your shortcomings and not only doubling down on your strengths, but learning to accept the fact that you have shortcomings, and even like learning to strengthen those shortcomings. Because quite honestly, it's like just finding that confidence within yourself can go such a long way, whether it's in love or career. Having that internal confidence, not like boasting out to the world. You don't have to do that if you don't resonate with that, if you're a very reserved person. The energy you're putting out just by finding that sense of confidence is going to completely change the way the world interacts with you. Honestly, it's, you know, I do feel like there is a interrelatedness between the internal world and the external experience. I feel like they're interdependent upon each other. So yes, some say, you know, the internal creates the external. I feel like it's a little bit of a mixture of both. I don't necessarily feel as if the internal is the only aspect of our experience, but I feel like it does have enough of an impact on our external experience that you should take note of that, and you should learn to be wary of the energy you put out and be more cautious of the thoughts you think, especially about yourself. Become very conscious about your self-talk. Be sure you are not putting yourself down, and if you are putting yourself down more often than not, realize that you may have taken that on from somebody else. You may have taken on other people's fears. You may have taken on other people's failures. But those are not you. You are often not your thoughts. Once you kind of learn to detach from the thoughts, detach from the emotions connected to those thoughts, come to a place of stillness, you will be able to see the path forward much more clear than if you were to focus on other people's opinions. I don't know what else to say. That came through, man. Spirit really comes through with these messages sometimes. So we're going to close this reading out with the animal messages here. See what lessons or advice from an animal. Animal advice. What do they got for you? Oh, how did this get upside down? I thought I had them all upright because there's not really reversal readings for these. Well, I'm going to put it upright so I can read it, but we'll take that into consideration. I do like to honor reversals, so the Bison says, recognize the riches of the past and the abundance of the present. I will read the booklet, because I am interested to see what it says. It is a brown one. Okay, Bison, where are you? Hello? Bison, okay. So monolithic bison, ancient, magnificent wild lord of the grassland prairies, embodies strength and endurance. Unchanging bison has flourished where other animals have become extinct, and counsels that you too draw upon the riches of the past. Look into your family tree to discover your unique cultural heritage. Transmute the old and seemingly worthless to a vibrant new form, or study to rediscover fabulous lost processes or wisdom. The time for abundance is coming, but you must be prepared to recognize its gifts. Man, if that doesn't hit the nail on the head, I mean, this is really what was coming through. This has been an overarching theme for the majority of these general readings. It's a lot of ancestral karma going on, I guess you could say, ancestral baggage to process. A lot of these experiences and a lot of needing to come into that sense of self-confidence. Not only learn from your past, learn from the past of your ancestors. Think about the struggles your ancestors endured and try to apply those lessons to your current situation. You know, while their circumstances may have been vastly different than yours now, there are still some very valuable lessons to be learned from your ancestors. And that's why I personally have a very deep reverence for my ancestors. If you're somebody who, I don't know, if you have an altar, I would recommend creating space on that altar to pay respects to your ancestors. Have something that represents your ancestors. Give them offerings, I really feel like our ancestors can be communicated with, not only deep within our hearts, but through, synchronicities and signs throughout the universe. Your ancestors, I'm sure, would be more than happy to help guide you, whatever it is you're going through right now, and to recognize that, better time, if you're in a place of feeling like things aren't going the way you want them to, there is always the pendulum swinging, and there is a flip side to that. And so if you're on this pendulum and you're in the space of oh, this is difficult, why is nothing working out, what am I doing wrong, eventually that's going to swing to the other side. And if it does swing back, it's not going to swing back in the way you think it will. And that's one thing I've had to come to terms with. It's you can kind of take yourself out of that karmic loop. You can take yourself out of the polarities of the pendulum swinging, and this kind of goes into singularity consciousness and 0-point consciousness and things of the sort, where it's once you reach this state of stillness, once you reach this 0 point within your just everyday life. I mean, mindfulness is such a beautiful tool that will help you recognize when you're falling back into old patterns, and by doing so, keeping yourself in a vibration that will attract the past situations that you're trying to get away from, right? And so that's why these cards are coming to you. Your ancestors seem to be coming through. They're saying, hey, you're doing just fine, but just be more present and realize that the abundance that you're seeking is found in the present moment. And I know that sounds a little cliche. I know everybody's oh, be in the present moment, this and that. But this isn't coming through in that sense. This is coming through in the sense of recognizing the fact that you do not have to not only do you not have to live in the past, but you don't have to live in the future through worry and anxiety, right? And moving forward from this point is going to take you not only getting real with yourself, but learning from the past and just remaining present as often as you can, and not beating yourself up for slipping up and falling back into old patterns or old ways, because that too is a part of the lesson. That too has something to teach you, and finding the lesson in every experience that you're going through. But that said, that was a powerful, beautiful reading. I really enjoyed this reading. Honestly, this really hit home for me too, because I work a lot with my ancestors, and so it's just really, really nice to see something like this come through. And I really hope this resonates with somebody. I really hope this helps you, because these messages and these energies from the universe are beautiful and really conducive to personal growth. But yeah, that concludes the reading for the week. If you'd like to book a personal reading, please send me an email to jzargoshepard@gmail.com, or send me a message on instagram.com, at jzargoshepard. I have details in the description, as well as other videos that I have out. I believe I'll have the Mercury Retrograde video down there. I'll have, some of the past love readings down there. But yeah, that's it. I love y'all so much. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will see you in the next reading. Bye.